leads to another thing.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Which leads to another thing. Yeah, so that's what happened. That's what's happened here. We've definitely got one thing led to another. So first of all, it started with me thinking to myself, do you know what? I'm kind of bored with the Jag, you know, like it's a lovely, lovely, lovely car, and it is. But I'm a bit of a petrol head and I like my modified cars, and I've had this for 7 years now. And I'm just thinking, you know, getting on in years, I'm 48 now, and if I keep this car, I'm going to end up staying in this car or cars of this type, you know, forever, and I feel like I'm missing out a little bit. Yeah, I just feel like I'm going to be not stuck, but I don't feel like I'm going to jump into anything a bit more exciting while I'm running about in this thing. So that's where I started thinking, you know, do I get something else? And then I started looking at other cars that I'd like to drive. And if you're a petrol head, you know what I mean. It's like not just all about one car, is it? There's lots of different cars that you've liked over the years that, you know, that you'd maybe like to experience, you know what I mean? So that's sort of what I'm thinking, something a little bit more fun. Still something that I can use as a daily driver, but something that I can have a bit more fun with and mess up. When I say fun, like more fun to drive and that you can have a play with. It's like something that you can, you know, change the wheels, mess on with the suspension, tune the engine. And it's not that I can't do that with this, but it's never going to be a sports car, it's never going to be a custom car, it's never going to be a race car. It's never, you know, it would just be like just titivating it, making it look different, really. So yeah, that's where all this started, and I started looking at, I've always wanted a Porsche 944. I just think they look lovely. So then I started looking at other stuff like,
if you're dumb enough to buy a new car this weekend, you're a big enough schmuck to come to Big Bill Hell's Cars. Bad deals. Cars that break down. Thieves. If you think you're gonna find a bargain at Big Bill, you can kiss my ass. It's our belief that you're such a stupid motherfucker. You'll fall for this bullshit. Guaranteed.
Stuff that I've never driven before, like
that bitch running off of vegetable oil.
Ford. I've never had a Ford Capri. I've always wanted a Ford Capri, so I started looking at Capris, and then I realised that I was looking at cars that were getting on for quite an age, and it occurred to us that I've always wanted a car that was made the same year that I was born, regardless of what it was. I just think that'd be cool to have a car the same age as you, you know. Now you're looking at like classic cars, you know. I'm 48 years old. I was born in 1973, so I searched on eBay into the category of classic cars 1973. Obviously a load of cars came up, Triumphs, Spitfires and MG BGTs, and there was all sorts of stuff, Capris, Escorts, and I'm looking at all these cars and I'm thinking, well, that's nice and that's nice and that's nice, but like I know what's involved in that sort of car. Generally it's restoration, a lot of rot work, to, you know, but a lot of them they're quite easy to get parts for, so panels and whatnot. But then scrolling through, I sees this purple pickup truck, never seen anything like it before. It's a Datsun 620 long wheelbase pickup truck. It's been imported from Thailand. Obviously it's originally Japanese, it probably went straight there from Japan. Quite a funky looking thing, really different, listed as a 1973. So I started looking into him and realised there's quite a subculture. Even Hot Wheels makes a version of it, you know, like, so that's pretty cool that it's on the Hot Wheels radar. It adds to, you know, the coolness of the car, as it were. But I'd never seen one before, so looking into it, you realise that there's quite a thing for people modifying these things and doing some pretty cool builds with them. And I just really liked the way it looked above everything, you know. What do, you know, like there's the rare as hen's teeth. Now I would have been just being a bit pedantic if I was to say, oh well, it's not a 73. I really like the car, do you know what I mean? So I made the decision to buy it. Got it brought up from South Wales on the back of a transporter, and at this point I realised that it needed quite a lot of work. I mean, the guy did say it needed stuff doing to it. It was a project, but there was just things that way worse than what I was expecting. The fuel tank was completely ruptured, didn't hold any fuel. It was split around the seam, and it was battered to bits as well. It wasn't even something that you could potentially fix or anything. It was wrecked. In fact, underneath, it looks like the thing's been used for off-roading or something, because the subframes are smashed to bits with obviously hitting boulders and stuff. The engine wouldn't start. There's no fuel pump. I don't know how he's had it running, but I just can't get it to fire up. Even when you're turning it over, it sounds quite rough. Sounds like the ring gears had it, probably with all the attempting to start it with no fuel pump. So it already had an SR20 engine in, 2 litre engine in, 16 valve, out of something like a Nissan Primera. So it had a bit of an engine swap, but God knows, when you look at the rest of the work that's been done on the car, God knows what the engine swap was like, because any work that's been carried out in Thailand has been just a savage has done it, you know what I mean? It's an absolute mess. But all that said, those are the bad points. The good points is, and this is the most important thing that he was clear about on the listing, was that there wasn't a lot of rot on it. It was rot free. Little bits of rust here and there, but nothing major, no holes or anything like that on the chassis or the body itself. So that's good. That's good news, because it saves having to do that sort of work. But as it is, I was looking at it and think, well, you can't even get rear hubs for it, to find them, because or the handbrake cable, because it's been literally cut off at the hub. I'm guessing it's been cut off because everything's seized up in the hub. So I started to think, well, one thing, I'd like a turbo on it. Now, it would be nice if I could just turbo the SR20, which is possible to do, or get an SR20 DET, which is a turbo version of the same engine. I went out to see Jonathan because I don't have a garage anymore, and it was a case of I'm definitely going to need his help and expertise and facilities to be able to take this on in any capacity, whether I was going to be just fixing stuff up or doing what I'm planning on doing. So went out to see him, explained to him the project, showed him some pictures. We had a bit of discussion about it, and the conclusion that we came to was, realistically, what I'm wanting to achieve with it, what I'm wanting to build, without any fucking about, it needs a donor car. Because really, I'd like to change the back axle to disc brakes and a better differential, which sort of led us to, well, do we just convert it to an independent suspension rear back axle out of the Nissan S13s, S13, S14. The other thing was, it's on 6-bolt hubs, which is 4x4 wheels, and it limits what wheels that I can get for it. So by changing the hubs as well to the Nissan S13 hubs, it means the wheels are easier to acquire in different sizes and styles and stuff like that. So that was kind of helping with that. So that kind of covers, by changing the hubs, you get a few advantages, obviously, like disc brakes for a start. If you put on the back axle subframe in, you get independent suspension, which means you can ditch the big leaf springs, which are hideous, and go for coilovers, which gives you actually more ground clearance as well when you're lowering it. So there was just a bunch of advantages in doing a back axle swap at least. But then if we swap the back axle, then you're going to have two different like stud patterns back and front, which is a pain in the neck. So really you need to look at like swapping the front as well. And then there's problems with the wiring harness. There's questions over I don't know about the gearbox because I haven't even been able to drive it, but there's definitely question marks over the engine. We know there's problems with the wiring harness and brakes, stuff like that. So we kind of came to the conclusion we needed a donor car. If we went for a Nissan S13, then it's got everything that we need. And ideally, if we could get my hands on something that had already had a bit of work, which a lot of these cars have, it would save money in the long run buying, bits and pieces and, building it that way. So rather than, buying a back axle here out of a written off car, getting a prop shaft, getting a front subframe from somewhere, and finding bits, it just made sense. If we've got the full car, it means we've got all the brake lines, pedal box, engine, subframes, brakes, hubs, wiring harness, ECU, everything to be able to build the car. Obviously there's going to be a bunch of adaptations that need made. Have plasma cutter and welder can do sort of thing. So that's the plan. So that's where I'm going today. I'm going to have a look at an S13 drift car. So it's had all the suspension tweaked. It's got a nicely built, freshly built engine. SR18, not the SR20. So it's a 1.8 NO.2 litre, and it's, like I say, it's just been built. So it's got a new crank in it, forged con rods, pistons, and it's also like dressed up nice. It's got all the, your Samco hoses, intercooler, all that sort of stuff. It's also got a roll cage. It's also got two brand new Esparco seats in it. It's got a nice set of wheels on it. It's also got a body kit on it which I can use. So like, as much as humanly possible, I'm going to swap over from this car to the Datsun, including the body kit. I think. Don't know how it's going to fit in at the front. I'm maybe going to have to make some pretty big alterations at the front. But again, like the bodywork side of it, like that just doesn't faze us at all. I won't start going on about women drivers. It's turned into a major build, a major build. First of all, the Datsun's going to have to be stripped down to bare chassis, and it is like a rail chassis, so the carb and everything to come off there. There's alterations to be made to the chassis, and then any rust or anything like that, we'll have to clean all that up and sort any problems there, and then get it ready for the subframe to go in, or subframes back and front. Once that's done, it's like a relatively, it's the subframes that are the big part of the job. Once that's done, it's a case of kind of just getting it back together with all the other parts, pipes and everything like that, making sure that everything fits. Well, everything's not going to fit, it's not. It's going to have to be made to fit. So, but that's going to be the fun part of it. So ultimately, this is going to be an interesting project. I'm into cars. I have all my life. I've built lots of cars, but I've not built one like this before. I've not got into changing subframes and completely altering suspension. We've done engine swaps, and Jonathan has done conversions from fixed beam axle into independent suspension in a Mark 1 Escort. So it's not as if it hasn't been done before, even by us, as it were. But it's still a big project for anybody's like capabilities and facilities. Obviously, Jonathan builds dynos, He builds rolling roads, and that's his mainstay of business, really, tuning cars on rolling roads and building rolling roads. Technology that he uses with a lot of the stuff that he does, he's using 3D scanners, he's using 3D printers. A lot of the stuff that he does is now like CNC, so he's got laser cutters. So for example, we're going to be able to, when we get the chassis to bits, we're going to be able to the cab off the chassis and everything, we're going to be able to 3D scan the chassis, and then when we get the rear subframe, we can 3D scan the rear subframe, and on the computer, on the CAD design, actually mate the chassis to the subframe without even having to do it in real life. We can do it on the computer, and then that way we can work out what brackets and everything that we need to make before we even have to like kind of get into handling it and fitting parts. So it should give us a good advantage in the build, having that level of technology to be able to play with. Really lucky that he's got all that stuff, and it's stuff that he's developed as well. Like he's built his own 3D scanners. I mean, like, he's built 3D print, he's built all sorts of stuff. He's built CNC machines, he's built laser cutters. The guy's an absolute genius. So it's going to be fun, just spending time out there and working with him again. There's no one that I would trust or want to get into this build with other than Jonathan, because his skill set, his knowledge, his ability, his facilities are absolutely amazing. He's got the messiest garage in the world. Like, he's a one-man band, he's got quite a big workshop, and he doesn't spend a lot of time tidying up between jobs, sort of thing. So he's got a really messy garage. I know we're going to have difficulties finding 13mm spanners and stuff like that. So there's going to be a lot of videos, literally a whole series of videos of this build. But I wanted to explain, because this, at the end of the day, this is like a vlog. It's part of the Cre8ors Podcast, in that the Cre8ors Podcast started with me creating lots of stuff and realizing that there's other people out there that create lots of stuff, and I like speaking to those people, So obviously I started the podcast, which is on iTunes and Spotify and all that sort of stuff, and that's just audio. But a lot of the stuff that I do is visual. This is just audio. This is just me talking. This could be uploaded to the podcast as well as the YouTube. We might do that. Ultimately, the stuff that I do is very visual, so it would be that's where I decided to go with the YouTube channel and call it the Cre8ors Podcast. So this content is getting a little bit away from pure podcast sort of material, but and it's getting a lot more visual. You're going to be watching a car getting cut up and stuck back together again, but that's the sort of stuff that I like to watch, and at the end of the day, we're creating something at the end of it which didn't exist before we did this, and that's what creation's all about. That's what art's all about. That's what the podcast is all about. So this just helps visualize it all for people a lot better. As if I was to talk about doing all this work to an old Datsun truck, then it would be a bit shit not being able to see it, wouldn't it? Yes, I'll check out for now, and we'll see you when I get back to when I get down there and have a look at this S13. Catch you shortly. Right, so this is what it's all about. So I'm back home. The trip didn't, the weather wasn't too great down there, so it was really dark in the barn where it was. So this is the car that went to have a look at, but it was really dark, so I figured I'd just make a little video with some screenshots just to, you know, talk you through it rather than try and piece something together out of the video that I got from down there. So obviously it was pretty dark in there, the video quality was terrible, but cool car, loads of bits on it that are going to go onto the truck: body kit, wheels, suspension, hubs, subframes, engine. Obviously it's got aluminium radiator, built 1.8 motor, all the bells and whistles and foo-foo valves and stuff. Interior wise, it's got a full roll cage, leather seats, brand new Sparko leather seats. It's even got some bits of trimmed door cards and stuff. Harnesses. The body kit, I think, is going to fit really well onto the truck as well, so it's going to be interesting to see how wide it sits. This is a picture of just me visualising the potential colour scheme. There's a couple of options. This was before I seen the Nissan. This was after, so I've then been on Procreate and kind of morphed the two together. So this was like black on red. This is red on black. I don't know which one you prefer. I cannot make my mind up on that at all. They look slightly different because this one's got the body kit on and this one really hasn't got a big kit on it, and the wheels and stuff, or the splitter as well, different front end as it were. But yeah, which do you prefer? Anyway, this is a video of me just drawing this. So thanks for watching, and I hope you're enjoying kind of keeping up with the project. Once it gets started out, like at JDM Dyno, pulling it to bits and stuff, obviously we'll have a lot more to show of it, but right now I'm just conceptualizing the build, so it's having fun with it. And I want to put stacks on it as well. I've got some carbon fibre cans off a TVR Tuscan, I think, so I'm going to put those on it. So yeah, that's where we're at with it so far. So thanks for watching, and if you want to keep up with it, do the old like and subscribe and follow what we're doing, click the notifications. Yeah, looking forward to the next one. Bye.